Welcome to Inner Child Circle. This is breath work.
Really, any work with the breath, you're working with the realm of spirit.
So that's the power of the breath, is that it releases all of these deeply seated subconscious traumas and experiences. And
hi, I'm Nicole. I'm a holistic wellness practitioner, and one of the modalities that I use is breath work. So phenomenal. It felt like the one last missing piece. It was really, really powerful, the experiences that I had, and I wanted to bring more of that medicine out into the world.
Hi, I'm Gabby MITCHNECK. So I am a holistic healer as well. What led me to breath work, I went to an inner child healing retreat with you guys in Sedona, and I experienced the shamanic breathwork with Marcus. And I mean, that truly shifted a lot of things for me, that experience and that breath work, because the shamanic breath work is the hyperoxygenation. And I immediately messaged him and I was like, who taught you this? Because I personally feel kind of like you had said, Nicole, I feel like it's my personal duty in this world to share the modalities that heal me. So that's me.
Amazing. I love that. It's my personal duty to share the modalities that heal me. That resonates with Inner Child Circle. That is one of our big motivations too.
I'm Karen Trelaw, and I have a few modalities that I love to work with. I do beyond quantum healing and soul-centered healing hypnosis, which is an attachment and entity removal. I do Reiki. I do Akashic readings, but I think my favorite is the animal communication. I love speaking with the little creatures and the big creatures that share the world around us.
Happy to have you.
Yay. Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm Sierra. I'm one of the founding members, along with Karen, of Inner Child Circle. Like, breathing is definitely at the basis. It's like number one out of anything ever. So I want to know more about it.
The Sanskrit word for breath is spirit. So prana, meaning spirit. So when you're doing really any work with the breath, you're working with the realm of spirit. And
it's important to note the definition of prana, which is life force. So like it really is our absolute awareness and our absolute attention. And so when you are trapped in a fight or flight response, so say you get into a car accident and you're, jolted and your body tenses up and your breath goes up and maybe you banged your knee and then you had to go to work an hour later and you just completely disregarded everything. Experience within that split second of a moment is now saved in your fascia and in your body and in your nervous system, unless you allow it to follow through and releasing it. And so that's the power of the breath, is that it releases all of these deeply seated subconscious traumas and experiences and feelings and emotions that we just don't take the time to slow down and process. Like even those little things, they add up. And that's why, sometimes you can just kind of explode. So the breath with prana is your awareness, is allowing these things to go. So when they tell you to breathe into a place, you're allowing your awareness to go to that muscle, to that part of that nervous system in your body. The inhale is your sympathetic nervous system. And if you hold that, you're living in your sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight, flight, freeze. With your parasympathetic nervous system is the exhale. It allows those things to go down and to lower and not be up here. It's like grounding, and it's releasing, like letting go of that energy that you don't need. In short, that's my take on prana.
I love it.
So the breath allows you to become more aware of all of the things going on in your vessel.
Wow, I see that. The breath kind of equals awareness, and we can target our awareness by targeting our breath.
Exactly.
Impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's very powerful.
Karen, you have something to say?
I actually have a question. As someone who is not very familiar with breath work, let's say that I was working my way through a certain trauma and I needed to have some coaching. How would I know what kind of breath work would be best? How would I go about finding something that worked for me?
I would get someone that you feel safe with and that you want to develop a relationship with.
Just to get a feel for who the practitioner is, who the person is, so that it feels really like a safe space, I think it's pretty important.
On your own, you might be more hesitant to push the boundaries, whereas you might be more excited or, okay, we'll do that kind of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you get off track, they can be like, okay, find your breath, find your rhythm. They can pull you back in, yeah.
That makes sense. Did you have a follow-up, Karen?
I know that when I experienced shamanic breath work for the first time, I had no idea what it was going to entail, and it blew my mind, and it was hugely beneficial. But I assume that there are other kinds of maybe less dramatic. Can you give some examples of what maybe a beginner like me would look like, or look for, I should say?
I just love that you called it dramatic. It is quite dramatic. What do you think, Nicole?
Like I'm a true believer, firm believer in a lot of our intuitively guided things. So if you hear of shamanic breathwork or somatic release breathwork or trauma release breathwork, then exploring that, going down that avenue. Yeah. And trusting that every session, you get exactly what you need to get, and enough of that breaking apart, of that dismantling of that density is happening.
I like that. There's so many ways to go about it. I think it really depends upon what qualities that you're needing. If you know that you're a pusher and you're type A and you get things done, slower breaths to start.
Down regulation breathing, it's still that conscious connected breath practice, but it's purposefully just dropping you into the parasympathetic, which is that rest and digest. It's the regulating, balancing state, and you can have some profound release, profound experiences, but it's not at the intensity of the shamanic or the somatic release breath work, because the point isn't for it to activate, release, and then come back to homeostasis. The point of it is to kind of get you into a more regulated state from the beginning. So that's one of the directions you can go. Restorative breath, you could call it restorative breathing or down regulation breathing.
But if you are quite like mousy or accommodating, or you walk on eggshells and you just don't ever have your own experience, absolutely go in for, a shamanic or holotropic or those types of hyper oxygenating breath works where you're really hyperventilating.
I love that. I love that there's styles and that we have options, and the way that you broke that down. I would like to add that my first breathwork class was at a studio, and it was a room full of people and an instructor, nobody I knew. So at the end, when, I had revealed things and my body was, like I had these claw hands, and I would have really benefited from somebody to talk to. So just throwing that one out there is that yes, I love that I went. And like Nicole said at the beginning, if you're hearing about something and that's an intuitive hit, follow that through. If there is you could have a buddy system or somebody to talk to about it afterward, or journal about, I don't know, do some sort of
personally, after I teach anything involving energetic movement, honestly, but if keeping it in theme with breath work, I absolutely offer private sessions to go deeper, because we did just kind of rock the boat quite a bit. And I also love to recommend journaling after anything.
Sure.
I always recommend journaling. Write it down, get out of your head, put it on paper. When you look at things, they don't feel as big.
What I did after I did a breathwork led by Nicole a couple weeks ago, and I drove right afterward. So I recorded, I did like a voice memo journal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like that was probably even more engaging because then you could just like talk like you were, talking to your person.
Yeah. And then actually Nicole followed up and we had a lovely conversation that evening too.
Awesome. And so
Yeah.
that felt like more complete versus the other experience.
Oh, absolutely. Another big difference with the one with Nicole was that she said that forcing the breath on the exhale is what can relate to the claw hands. Yeah. And I had been doing that up until that particular breath work. And with Nicole, I just let it go, with gravity, naturally, whatever, without forcing it. And I didn't have any claw hands. And I did have the same, like, just as deep of an experience.
Almost like a sense where people are pushing themselves too hard. That's like a push.
Exactly.
You're trying to speed up the process.
Yeah, it's called tetany is the term for it. And it can be like your face and like in your mouth can get like this, and your hands can get like all clawed, your feet can curl up too. But yeah. So I'm glad that worked. Like that's excellent feedback to hear from you too, Sierra. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I would really love to get into a breath meditation.
I have an app on my phone that checks my heart rate variability. And I think just for fun, I'm going to check it before and after this exercise to see if there's a change.
So it's just breathing in for 5 through your nose, and then pursed lip breathing out for 5. With this breath, it actually gets your heart and your mind in coherence. Our hearts, our minds, and the whole group in coherence. So everybody can get their feet on the ground. Breathe in through your nose. Out through your mouth. In through your nose. Out through your mouth.
That was so blissful. I loved the music that went to that. That
Yeah.
was so helpful.
You look quite blissed out. It's very beautiful.
I do feel like our hearts are more connected, or at least my heart is more connected to the collective heart.
Yeah, I do too. No, this is medicine right here with everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be pretty dramatic. Okay, before we started, my stress was extremely elevated. I was at a 73%, which is, just ridiculous. My sympathetic nervous system was only at 17, and my other system was at 47. And it was just, my heart rate variability was horrible. It was very low. It was at 9%. Okay, that's where we started at.
Karen.
I know. I'm just a wreck. All right. So after the breathing, let's see. Oh, wow. Look at that. My stress dropped down to 58%. My energy went way up. My health went way up. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I had a rearrangement. The parasympathetic was at 37. The sympathetic was at 40. So the balance, that's probably the best I've seen it in a long time. My coherence went up 49% to 58% coherence. And my HRV score went from 9% to 33%. That was from that simple breathing exercise. That's amazing.
Right. It blew my mind when I was like, really, just from this 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, like balanced breath. And here's one simple, brief example of the profundity of the outcomes of some of these things. So yeah, cool. Thank you. I'm so glad that you had that app to show us that. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's really incredible. One of the practices that I had started doing when I felt more called to breath was I started monitoring my heart rate. And it wasn't me monitoring my heart rate while I was breathing. It was me monitoring my heart rate throughout my day, noticing the things that were elevating it, and then breathing. So I added a lot of pauses in there before I just dove into a practice. And I think it's so funny because the mind really thinks that it runs the show. And that's the problem, is that it thinks. It doesn't. The breath is life. It is our literal life force.
So that's an obvious benefit, but what are some of the other benefits of breath work?
I would say it alleviates anxiety, of course, depression. It increases your awareness. It increases your connection to self, allows you to kind of be more discerning and allow more space in your life. And also it's trauma releasing. What do you think, Nicole?
Shamanic breathwork practices and the trauma release ones for me personally, helped me to push through blockages that I didn't think I could. And then there is a point when your prefrontal cortex goes offline because you're in this hyperoxygenated state. And if your coach or whatever you're listening to while you're doing the breath does this, they can bring in these positive messages or these shifts of thinking, and just basically they go right into your subconscious. And so it can literally rewire how we respond to things. And that, I think, has been like the most transformative for me. At least when I've had those sessions that were guided with somebody, like giving those powerful, because we can create breathwork journeys with certain themes. And so like the one that I did with Sierra, the theme was taking back control. So there was a lot of that kind of messaging, like that you actually do have the control, and this is how you're doing it. And, just like all of those things. So a literal, like, rewiring of the subconscious is what I would add to that. Yeah.
And I think I think that it's important to add breath into everything that you're doing. I mean, I see like breathe when the first thing that you do in the morning should not be checking your phone. Take 3 breaths. Just take 3 breaths. Just take 3 deep breaths. Keep your eyes closed. Soak in that bed for just another minute, you know?
Yeah.
While you're eating. Why breathe while you're eating? Because definitely while you're eating, like we're disconnected from that food and we're just kind of shoving in this other vital life force. So you have prana, which is a vital life force, but you also have nutrients. And if you're not even eating the proper nutrients and you're just shoveling food in your mouth and you're not really present with it and breathing through it, and like, wow, this tastes good, or wow, I'm full, you know, because that could also be a feeling that's bypassed if you're not aware. And so inviting breath into even just the little small things in our day, which is like eating, you know, getting in the car before you turn your car on, take a breath, get comfortable in your driver's seat. I noticed that I just throw myself in my car. And so now I'm like, wiggle your butt, get comfortable. I don't care if I'm driving 2 minutes down the road. This is my life. And every bit of it is special. And so the more breath that I can incorporate throughout my days, the healthier and happier I feel, genuinely.
This is my life and every moment is special. Oh, that's cool. So breath work formally is like getting together, doing like breathing to music with like
yeah. So
guided.
there's hyperoxygenating, which is what Nicole and I both have trained in specifically. And then there's like Nadi Shodhana. That's one that I love to teach to people. I teach it in every yoga class that I teach. So Nadi Shodhana. So Nadi is channel and Shodhana is alternating. So you have your fingers in your third eye. And I love this because it's a moving meditation. Put your fingers here. You put your thumb on your nose. You plug it. Take an inhale. Plug it. Switch. Lift your thumb. Exhale through the opposite nostril. Inhale, same side. Plug and switch. Exhale. Inhale, same side. Plug, switch, exhale. Inhale, same. Thumb, plug, switch, exhale. Just continuing that at your own pace. Inhale, same. Plug, switch, exhale. Inhale, same. Plug, switch, exhale. And so that's just so beautiful because our channels, so we have our right brain and our left brain, and our right brain controls our left side body and our left brain controls our right side body, but it's also our right side is our masculine energy and our left side is our feminine energy. And so we're balancing both the right brain, the left brain, the right body, the left body, the masculine, the feminine, and it's allowing both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic on both ends to really get their attention. I love that breath work. And that's something you can do anywhere. It's really great for focus. It calms the nerves. So it's great for anxiety and promotes clarity. But it's, yeah. So there's so many ways to breathe. Just breathe.
Amazing.
And if you want to cool down, just elongate your exhale. The longer that exhale, the cooler.
Wow, so much value. Very cool. Thank you so much. In conclusion, I would love for you two to talk about yourselves, and Karen too.
Let me see.
Find yourself, and viewer or whoever, it is a practice. It is fluctuating. So one day you might have a really awesome day where you're like, oh my God, I was so connected to my breath work. And the next day you're like, well, that was all for nothing. No, it wasn't. Life is an ebb and flow. Our breath is an ebb and flow. Patience, grace, love, breathe. It's all good. Thank you guys for having me.
Yay, thank you.
Yay.
It was good to meet you, Nicole. I'm so happy we've connected.
Yes, me too. So good to meet you, Gabby.
It's a small little circle, so maybe one day we can facilitate together. That would be
Yeah,
really
I was thinking about moving to Asheville at one point. I still haven't decided where I'm going, but that's on the
God, it's
radar.
amazing. It's a vortex like Sedona. It's on a bed of crystal, and it is seriously the most beautiful place. I feel so protected by the mountains.
Yeah.
Like the energy is really incredible. I'm happy to be here. And there's a beautiful community of healers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Oh, I feel sparkly. Thank you. We love us.
Thank you.
All
guys.
right. Bye, guys. Love you all.
Bye.